Purchase your single day or weekend pass at Otafest.com for only $55 dues.
Welcome to the Otafest Podcast.
Yeah, welcome. Hi, I'm Dio, and that was Angelo's horrible
It is I, Angelo.
I'm not dead yet.
Stop.
Okay.
We're back with all of your hosts that you love so much.
Except me.
And
Oh.
me.
Or especially me.
Especially you.
Especially me.
You're back with a special episode with Dio and Angelo, me, Nancy, and Jake.
Yes,
Hey.
the whole crew is back.
Hi. We're here. We're doing an episode. Thanks for listening as always. Skipping Stone. Who wants to talk about Skipping Stone?
Otafest 2020 is partnering with Skipping Stone. Skipping Stone connects trans and gender diverse youth, adults, and families with comprehensive and low barrier access to the support they need and deserve. Visit skippingstone.ca to learn how you can positively impact the community today.
And how?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, as we stated at the very beginning, buy your pass. If you missed that part, just hit
Rewind.
back.
Oh, it's off the door price.
restart, and you'll hear it again. It's very accessible. Yeah.
You know
Just-
what else is no longer accessible?
Lots of things actually, but most recently, which has been funniest, I guess, if we want to talk about funniest things first, Funimation dropped something.
They did.
You
Was
can
that
no
big?
longer access this anime.
Interspecies reviewers. Let's talk about Funimation dropping them.
Yes. So, for those who don't know the show, or what the show is about, because apparently Funimation didn't know what the show was about when they licensed it.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
It really doesn't.
But we'll get
the
into
show is, imagine your typical fantasy RPG style setting. You have a group of adventurers, you know, you're human, you're halfling, you're elf, and they live in a world where brothels are legal, and they spend their days not adventuring and killing monsters, but patronizing said brothels and doing adult arts and crafts with the various races of the land that they live in.
So you're telling me they're like it's like
And then they write a review
IMDb.
about it.
Yeah, it's like IMDb, but for brothels. Is that what you're telling me?
Not only brothels, but race-specific brothels. So you can go see...
Cat girls.
You can go see
girls like it when you scratch the back of their neck.
Yeah,
That's
you
weird.
go see...
I'm not even joking.
Racist.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, you've got your cat girls, your cowgirls, demons,
So,
cyclops, all kinds of
Just
things.
because it's a little bit more racy than they expected, I think. It
They
got pulled
dropped
by
it.
It got pulled by Funimation, Amazon Prime Video, and also even some TV stations in Japan.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tokyo
seriously?
MX in Japan stopped airing it.
Which was hilarious because,
They were the channel that was even censoring it.
yes, well, not only that, but they chose to drop it in a very topical, kind of memey way. Which, I'm going to take you back to give you context, all the way back to like 2006. So what they did at the end of the last time that they were supposed to air Interspecies Reviewers, they aired a show about boats and showing off different boats in Japan on the water as
Wait,
a way
is that
of...
what they actually did?
Yes.
I thought they just swapped it out for Azure Lane.
No.
No.
Oh, I thought that was the joke for the boats thing.
No.
Nice
It was literally
boat.
a show about boats.
Yes.
It was
Which-
literally Nice Boat
It was
2.0.
Nice Boat 2.0, which is
Wow.
very funny because way back in 2006, they did the same thing when airing a show called School Days, which spawned a meme
Oh,
called
God. Yeah.
Nice Boat. Because if you don't know what School Days is, it's basically an adaptation of a dating sim, school dating sim that has, if you make mistakes in the VN, it has very brutal endings, like murder endings.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so the series culminated in a very brutal murder in the last 10 episodes of the show.
Oh,
The last
jeez.
2 episodes even.
In the last 2 episodes of the show. And so it was a big deal because at the time in Japan there had been a series, or rather a particular murder amongst young people.
Ooh.
And figuring that it was maybe not appropriate to air a show about kids killing each other, they, instead of airing the show, aired the Nice Boat program.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice boat.
We got, history's doomed to repeat itself, and we got Nice Boat twice. But I think the more interesting thing is not just that Funimation licensed it, and then after 3 or 4 episodes stopped
They dubbed an
licensing it.
episode.
They dubbed it. So
I really have to wonder how they bulldozed through the licensing process before finding out the actual content.
I mean,
of the
I think the
show.
problem is that they're very. So anime has become a pretty competitive
market, for sure.
in
It's-
terms of
Definitely.
licensors,
Yeah.
especially like Western licensors like Funimation, Crunchyroll, that kind of
Mhm.
related thing.
They just take a
Amazon.
shotgun approach with licensing.
Exactly. They're like, is it an anime? Yes.
Give it to
Is it
us.
gonna? Yeah. Is it probably gonna be good? Yeah. So just sign them, and we'll figure out.
Yeah, and my
whatever it is
understanding
later.
is like they don't even just license single anime individually.
No.
It's like you approach a studio or a production company and you say, we are going to license XYZ
Yeah.
portion of your airing library this
Yeah.
season.
Like, I think the biggest issue is, like, for example, because the way the world works nowadays, we're not really, even anime is not being, when it's being licensed, it's not just the whole series. Like, they don't wait for the series to come out anymore. It's the same thing as, like,
Yeah.
simulcasting and everything, so you're gonna get,
All things
maybe you might be
considered,
one episode
Funimation
behind.
had the license before the key art had already been drawn.
Right,
Wow.
they'll
Like,
they'll
there
get
was
be
the
they'll be
source manga,
yeah.
and maybe that was it.
if I had to guess in the pitch room for what is going to
Oh,
be signed,
if they
they were going to be like, this one
if
is
they
going to be
saw
a
the
little
key
bit-
art, they would not have licensed
So
it
I
because
guess-
the key art has a bunch of cowgirls with boobs like the size of their bodies.
Sure,
So
lewd.
really, definitely going down the lewd
Oh, it is.
street.
Well, I mean, and that's
Almost
the
porn.
thing. Like, I think they were like, even if they did see the key art, they were like, well, okay, but because let's be honest,
Keep
there's
in
already
mind,
anime that's
yeah,
sort of,
I was
you
gonna
know.
say there have been some sketchy, lewd anime that have been dubbed or subbed or distributed. Like High School DxD has massive bobbies, but like I think there's a difference
Bobs
between.
and
I think
Large tracts
I
of
love,
land.
I just love the Indian sort of like the East Indian meme, where just like send bobs and vagine.
veggie, yes,
Sorry.
but it's like that's what I was referencing.
Yeah.
So, but it's just kind of like there's a difference between like a show that has very sexual content, but that's not the primary purpose of the show. It's
Yeah.
just there.
Shokugeki.
Yeah, right. Like there's sexual content, but like there's other stuff.
Fan
in the
service
show.
is a thing.
Yeah,
and they
it's fan
probably
service.
assumed
that it was a
fan
fan service show,
and it is a fan service
They
show.
were
But
like,
it's
I would
also-
you
say.
know, if it's airing in Japan, how bad can it possibly be?
And the answer is very bad.
Well, yeah.
The only
Holy.
thing they really need to censor is anything below the waist. So
They
No, but not
censor,
for an
like-
American audience.
yes.
They
That's the
censored
difference.
this much around the waist, right in the center,
Mhm.
for the people who
Don't have
for
eyes.
the visually impaired. I'm holding up like
It's like
maybe a 2-inch circle.
2-inch circle.
I would
You can
say
imagine
roughly
where
the
that goes.
size of a mandarin orange.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: this show depicts adult arts and crafts,
And activities.
and activities about as explicitly as you can get. Like,
without
it's-
calling it absolute porn.
yes,
Yes.
Right.
like pretty much. I mean, like this is the HBO of anime.
oh. Okay then.
So it's very full frontal. It's not apologetic, and like me and Angela have been watching the show. Is the
It's
show
hilarious.
entertaining and hilarious? Yes.
It's great.
I don't know that you could air this on TV anywhere.
I'm just wondering
if
who
HBO
at Funimation who got the license and then
So-
who translated it and then who got the voice actors who
So,
listened
I
Okay,
want-
wait,
hold on,
wait,
hold
wait,
on,
wait, wait,
hold on.
Hold on. I want to
Stop.
talk about this. This is important.
Yeah.
Listen. So, I think this is actually going to tie back into some other industry related drama where like people were complaining or discussing like how much are translators paid or how much do translators work for, and something that like I think a lot of people didn't realize, or like something that I learned from the discussions that were coming up from that, is like it's not that like Funimation or Crunchyroll or any of these distributing companies have an in-house set of translators and people who do all of the translation and creating of the subtitles and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
All of that stuff is outsourced to independent contractors.
All
So
I'm saying
keep
is
in
there's
mi-
so many steps.
Oh, that's exactly what
They
I'm going to get
produce-
to.
Oh, there's always.
That's what I'm going to get to.
But here's the thing.
Listen. Let me finish. So, because there are so many steps and there are so many hands that
Yes.
are touching a thing, something I've noticed in my own career and just in general is that when you have a lot of people touching a project and a lot of people working on a project, it gets harder and harder for the people responsible for that project to understand the entire project.
Right.
So, I bet
Scale
you
is something that's
I
tough
bet
to
you that what
manage.
happened is because so many people were doing so many different things that the person, like the key person at the top in charge of this project, just really didn't understand.
They probably just wanted to know whether it was being done or
They
not.
must have
Yeah.
never looked at it.
But here's another thing that I want
Like,
to put
until
forth.
some Karen called him up and was like,
You
I
have-
want to speak to your manager.
You have other animes that obviously have like ecchi elements or even like let's say close to being pornographic elements,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily the whole series is of that caliber of,
Right.
of lewdness. So
Let's
let's
be
bring
real.
up.
The
So
whole
let's.
series is that.
No,
caliber
no,
of
I'm not
lewdness
talking
this
about that
time.
series.
right. Interspecies.
I'm talking
but
about-
That's why
I
this is.
I
different.
get it,
That's-
but no. You start something difficult when you start showing a series like Goblin Slayer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that out right now, and I'm not on the choo-choo morality train here.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
literally
I see
just
what you're
saying
going.
that slippery slope is sort of a thing when you regard this kind of stuff, because even though you can easily argue that Goblin Slayer, and I haven't seen all of it, but I know the first episode, I've seen
Oh, yeah.
that, and everyone knows that. So even if the rest of the series never touches on that kind of, let's say,
It
brutality,
never gets
it-
as dark as that first
Right.
chapter.
But you,
But you
still
have-
aired that first
you have
episode.
literally, and you can argue, well, you have to air the first episode for those. I get that too,
But you
but
still showed it. Like
you
you
still showed it,
it
and you allowed it, knowing what you were getting into.
So
and then
how
this
do you
is-
then turn around
yeah.
and justify saying no? Because I think
Yeah.
from a sponsor or like a shareholder position, if you have something that has this kind of content and you want to show that because like it's your property, and
Yeah.
then you see another property that does something similar, even if it's not to the same degree or as often,
Right.
the argument that you're going to make is why can
'Cause
they do it and I
in terms
can't?
of Crunchyroll at the very least, for example, right? Crunchyroll is mostly, I would say, family friendly. Like it's
yeah,
a little,
for the most part.
like 99%. I would say close to, right? I mean, there's like fan service, but let's be honest. In the world of anime, fan service is almost the same as family friendly, because
Yeah.
that's sort of just how they treat it. Like a panty flash is like whatever. Like
Yeah, a panty flash or like something like implied innuendo is okay, but like showing sexual organs is
yeah, but
less okay.
but Goblin Slayer jumps that.
Depicted
Yeah.
an arts and crafts.
It was essentially extremely, what do you call it?
Graphic.
Graphic
Oh,
and
it was extreme
explicit.
graphic
It's explicit.
sexual violence.
It's explicit, right? And then once you do that and somebody okays it, and then they're also gonna just show the rest of the show or whatever, it's there. It's just in the library. It's part of the history of that. It's not really a surprise that something like interspecies reviewers, whether they backtrack on it or not, that somebody would approve it.
yeah,
It's not that
because
it's not that far of a
it's-
jump.
It's been done before.
Yes. Whether you make
But
it
everybody
one episode
knows
is not a
that
whole
violence
series.
is okay, but anime titty is just a nip too far.
I
Yep.
mean, it's true, but like
It's
my guess, right,
it's
is
different.
very similar to the scenario
Yeah.
that Jay was talking about earlier, which is that because if you're someone who's going to license a bunch of things and you want to be ahead of the curve and have all these things, you can simulcast them and release like a lot of times with these shows, you're releasing, to my understanding, the subtitles
Same
and
day.
subtitled at like within 2 hours of it
Yeah.
airing. Like you're getting it right
That's
away.
that's the
and you're
audience
turning it
demand,
over, right?
nowadays,
Because that's what
right?
the audience demands.
Yep.
So I imagine in the boardroom where a bunch of these things are being thrown at you for you to potentially license, you're probably looking at, I don't know, 10 shows, and you've got probably 5 minutes to look at each show, maybe even less. If you're doing 10 shows, you probably only have 2 minutes to look at every single show. If you have
Right.
an hour-long
And then like
meeting.
when it comes down to
you just don't see all
yeah.
of the details.
the folks that are like doing the translating, and they're the ones who kind of do have to see the episode in a way, right? Because they're trying to match
Yeah.
everything to the scene and all
it's
that
not
stuff. I'm
up
sure.
to them to say
Yeah,
if it's
to say
appropriate
no,
or not.
right? They're like,
No.
I'm sure like maybe
I'm-
some of them in the studio, they like if it was you, for example.
Yep.
I'm sure you'd be like, They're doing this. Well,
I mean, like, okay, so
this is my job, I guess.
when we outsource translating parts of a website, let's
My
say, for
nipple fell
example,
off.
to no,
On my laptop.
we're gonna have to bleep that out. So when we in my other career, when we outsource like translating parts of a website to contractors, it is their job to do it in context. So they do it, and they rarely ever question the
What they're
material
doing, right?
It's not
they're
their job to.
translating. It's not
Yeah.
their job to. Their job is to just translate whatever
Not
we
to
put in
And
front of
hand
them.
it over to
I'm
you.
sure like the project manager of like whatever, the signings and all that stuff, they're probably 4 bosses up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's kind of like, like you could be like, I'm not comfortable, and then have someone else work on it.
Honestly, contractors translate tons of things.
It's
Stuff
a bulk thing,
It's
I'm
a
sure,
constant
right?
churn. Like they don't like.
Right.
I'm sure if you asked a translator, it's like, "How
Yeah.
was your day?" They'd be like, "Oh no, I translated like a whole bunch of things. Like there was
Some of it's weird.
Yeah, and
whatever.
I think it's like, because you're a contractor, right? Some of it will be family friendly stuff. Like you'll be working for big companies like Crunchyroll, Funimation, but you'll also be working for small studios that dub hentai or all kinds of other things. Like you probably don't care what you're being handed, but your job is to
True.
translate the thing, hand it over, get your paycheck.
right."
Yep.
And
It's
so-
just work.
The translators obviously aren't going to be the ones who are voicing concerns about this, but the part that really does get me is that as the voice actors are in the studio behind the microphone and they're doing their lines, when they and the director, so the director usually will end up seeing the same episode a few times because they're going to have a couple of waves of different
Right.
actors coming in.
Yeah.
By the time the first wave is done and they've done all of their lines,
They've probably
Maybe-
seen the whole episode.
maybe by the third wave of people, they will have seen the entire episode because you're
They know the
dubbing
entire
in
context,
chunks.
Yes.
So by the third or fourth actor, you've probably seen the whole thing. I would think the director might raise concerns.
But at the end of the day, is it their job to? Because
I
they get- 'cause the-
don't-
'cause-
Here's my thought.
Because they would just get. They're like, this is the episode. This is the project.
but
Do the work.
So from my understanding in the industry, what happens is that the director is not responsible for the content, but the person who wrote the script and handed it down to the director knows the content and will have informed the director what kind of content to expect, and the actors who are hired into that role are usually given a heads up as to if it's very adult. Like a lot of actors
Sure.
will not do sex scenes, or they won't do hentai games, they
Right.
won't do, and
That's
like
totally fine.
a lot of actors prefer
Yeah.
to stay in like the family friendly, or like at
Zone.
the very most the PG-18 for
Kind of range.
for
Right.
respectability, and
But-
that's always debatable depending on the actor you talk to.
I think what Dio was talking with scope and stuff, right?
Right,
Like,
but the person who, at the end of the day, was the casting director who hired the cast would have had to legally inform them that this is a requirement of the job. So at what point did that ball get dropped? I don't know.
So here's my guess. My guess is that probably the director knew what kind of content it is. I've listened to the dub. It sounds like it sounds like the voice actors, like, they don't sound awkward. They sound like they did a good
it's
job.
an episode.
Right? It sounds like it's a good episode that they
Right.
did.
Regular.
My guess would be, and here's the thing, they released 3 subbed episodes and only 1 dubbed episode.
Mhm.
My guess is that
Right
until
after
they completed the dubbed episode, that's probably where concerns got raised.
Yeah.
That's my guess, because that's when they dropped the show the next day.
But it's
Mhm.
still weird because No. I think it just comes down to the chain of command and signing off on things.
Yeah,
And then
that's what I think
it's
as
like,
well.
Like, you can say that someone dropped the ball, but at the end of the day,
An anime got made before the speed of bureaucracy.
I would probably say it's something like that in the sense that they were like, I got this IP. Let's get this coming through now. It's new. It seems a little racy or whatever, but sex sells, whatever. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
At the
And I
end of
mean,
the day,
Let's send it through.
I understand why they quit on it,
yeah.
but
And-
I'm just happy that it happened at all.
And
'cause
I
that's
imagine
hilarious.
that it's a lot like what Dio was saying, is that the people who were involved in the project up until they actually saw the entire episode, they probably thought, oh yeah, there'll be some racy content. They weren't expecting like full on arts and crafts going at it.
Yeah.
And that's probably when the really big red flags were raised. And they
And
decided to
people
go through
probably
with it. They were
catch
just
up,
like,
yeah.
okay, I'm sure what also happens, there's a name for this phenomenon. I can't remember what it is, but it's the one where the peons who are down below management, if they're handed a task, they assume they're supposed to be doing it. So
yes.
So
yeah.
there's always a thing where it's like, well, someone signed off on this. I'm sure this is fine, and so they do it. They do the job to the best of their capabilities, and
Wow, I
no
can't
one
believe we're doing this.
and no
but
one really
I'm
raises
gonna
the
do it.
concern that should we be doing this?
And that's the thing. Like, I don't think that's as simplistic as it is. It's not the wrong mentality to have, because a lot of the time, and it's like, you know, there are you have your work responsibilities and then
Yep.
responsibilities that you could be like, well, you should be concerned for the company, but you don't always know what direction the company is taking, for example.
Yeah,
Right.
and you don't know what
Or
the
you're
customer
not-
wants or
Yeah,
whatever.
you weren't at the board meeting, you weren't
Yeah.
whatever, like
And you just sort of assume that the people who
Yeah.
were involved in the decision-making process did
Did
it fully
their-
aware
of
and
what they were getting into.
it's that
Yeah.
very simple. I just work here.
it
Yeah,
is.
I just work
I
here,
just work
dude.
here.
And it's
And
not necessarily
that's,
being irresponsible. It's literally being responsible for what
For
you
your
were assigned
job.
to do.
Yeah.
You were assigned to do a task.
These-
You did your task.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these
If
are your
If my
responsibilities.
company in my role right now, if either the customer or the control center tells me to do something that will end up shooting the company or the customer in the foot, even if I raise concerns and they say keep going, it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
just
just
do
work
it.
there, dude.
I mean, you still might get in crap later, and they'll be like, "Why did you let it through?" It's because you told me to let it through, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Well, that's
And
not
this
good
is
enough."
where
That's another
malicious-
stupid
Oh,
problem.
no.
Right.
That's
But-
the great
but
thing about
not
my
on a
company.
scale-
They
that's-
understand.
But there's a
Yeah.
difference between that is like, again, the scale of projects like these.
Yeah.
There's enough people that are like willing to just be like, we need to get it done because we got told to get it done.
We got told to get it
So-
done. My livelihood depends on me getting it done. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
And so I fully believe that at some point, some degree of malicious compliance happened here. Someone probably did raise a concern and they were just overridden and they were like, okay, well, if you say so.
Just do your job.
And
Yeah.
so this is what happened. And
Right.
it's funny, it's a thing, it's happened, and history repeats itself.
Right.
Indeed.
But
But I do think it gave
Yeah.
I do think it gave the show some extra
cred.
extra credits, some extra,
PR.
Oh,
views.
Blu-ray sales are going to be through the roof after this.
No one buys
boy.
Blu-rays. I don't.
People in Japan do, and that's the only ones that matter.
Okay.
Because the Blu-rays for these in Japan are stupid expensive.
Actually, playing anything, like
Japan-
anything in hard media
It's
in Japan is
expensive.
very expensive. You'd
Like,
think it wasn't, but
Equivalent is something like
No,
$100 for
I
3
disagree.
episodes for like one volume.
I think it just depends on, like, Japan is the one thing that I never talked about. We talked about early in like the podcast season because like we were like just traveled to Japan and stuff like that. But the one thing that I forgot to bring up that from my experience, but this definitely reminds me of it. Japan is probably the most capitalistic country that I have gone to so far, exceeding
believe it.
like the U.S. And maybe it's like, yeah, I know you haven't been,
Yeah.
but I feel like, so you go to Japan and like in a major city, not every inch, but like so many parts of it is just covered with ads, covered with services. They
Mm.
offer every service imaginable for a price. They offer every product available, like, for a price, that kind of thing. Like, they are so capitalistic in that sense.
If you want it, it is buyable.
Yeah, like whether it's a rentable boyfriend for...
Rentable family.
Yeah, rentable family, literally. Or
Yeah.
you want...
Oh my god.
Like-
I
like-
watched a video about host clubs the other day, and the costs involved are insane.
Oh yeah, people make crazy. If you are a hostess in Japan, like if you're a well-respected, like well-liked hostess with regular customers,
Even hosts.
like
Yeah,
or host
hostess,
too.
yeah, period.
Hostess,
Like,
like
it's
if
like
you're just
$6,500 a night.
yeah, like you're making 6 figures.
And it's
Comfortable.
and it's
Diggity.
I like I say this, like Japan is at least in those urban centers, like and I haven't been in New York yet, but like San Francisco didn't seem that crazy. Haven't been to LA yet, but I still don't think it's that crazy. It's literally this sense of like, if there's a niche where you could possibly make some money, somebody has that service available for you
Yeah,
in an urban center in Japan.
Hmm.
But,
It's not. It doesn't feel bad. It's just really
very
strange.
different
Just
from
business.
here.
all
Yeah.
things considered, this show
will probably make a higher profit because of this.
Maybe.
Like with anime,
I mean, it still has to be a good show.
the broadcasting, the way that they get broadcast is way different from the States. Like, or in North America, a show is made, and then a company like AMC or HBO or something pays to license it,
Yeah.
and that's how the studio makes its money.
Right.
In Japan, the studio has to pay the channel to air the content, and then the studio has to make their money back on like Blu-ray sales or merch sales or international licensing. If an anime doesn't sell Blu-rays, the studio goes bankrupt.
Do you think
Or merch.
other like because I wasn't in Japan long enough to know, and Asia is sort of, I don't really recall because I'm not watching TV media all the time. Do you think they have so much incoming media that's being produced all the time that they don't syndicate as much? Like, so for example, in American TV, like I think you could probably still, like, they'll still do reruns of like Simpsons, Futurama, Friends,
True.
maybe
I
like
don't know.
Frasier.
I'm not
like,
sure.
But I feel like I've never really heard about syndication in other countries. Sorry, syndication is one thing. I meant more like just reruns. Like
Reruns
doing
in general.
reruns.
I've
I feel like
never
there's-
heard of it either. And I feel like, because like just in the anime space, like there's so much.
But
new stuff.
in like American shows, you hear about
Reruns all the time.
all the time. And they still make money off those.
Oh, yeah.
every
Yeah, they
time.
do.
Yeah,
And
like actors' contracts will be like, yeah, I want like a clause for
Reruns times. And I
and
think
they'll still make
to
extra
your
money off
point, that ties in, like, maybe that's not a thing because in like the States, right, or like in North America, you make money off of the rerun because the broadcast studio is paying money to rerun your show. But it's the exact opposite in like
I feel
Japan,
like, yeah.
right? So you would have to pay money to have
The
your
studio
show
would have to pay
rebroadcast.
money to have the show be broadcast.
Right. Anyway, I'd like to move on a little bit from this.
Yeah.
It's February. We already talked about Valentine's Day, in case you missed that somehow. How dare you?
Go watch the last episode, nerd.
We give
but,
some good dating advice, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We give
Hopefully it helped
subjective.
you.
We give subjective dating advice.
Subjective dating
Doesn't mean
advice.
it's good.
We give advice.
And if we did give the advice good, then maybe you gave or received some chocolate.
And it's
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Oh, we've touched on a topic here. Oh boy. Okay, so who's a chocolate snob here?
I'm
wouldn't
not
What
a
is
call
it?
snob.
What
myself
is it to be a
snob.
snob?
if
Because
it's chocolate,
I
give it to me.
will eat most chocolate.
Yeah,
I will
same.
stay away from some chocolate. I don't like Easter egg chocolate.
So I will go over
For example.
some pretty divisive chocolate things.
The worst
Okay.
chocolate
that
I've ever
usually
had
get.
is the last like maybe 10 years advent calendar chocolate.
Ooh,
Maybe.
yeah,
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
never good.
I don't like cheap chocolate.
When I was
Yeah.
younger, that was the best shit ever.
No.
Yeah, no.
But
Now
like the
you bite it
last
and you
times I
know
had
it's
advent
sugar.
calendar, it's like, what am I eating? This isn't
But,
chocolate.
okay.
Although to that point, I think you could also say that it's because your taste buds have developed a bit.
True.
I would sooner, and actually this is one thing that one of my nephews did a while ago. He made a craft beer advent calendar
Huh.
Cool.
Neat.
where it was just 24 Christmas flavored beers.
That's cool.
Christmas flavor sounds terrifying. Anyway,
So,
what does
okay,
it mean to be a chocolate snob, Nance?
Some really divisive chocolate topics. Number
Okay.
1. Do you consider white chocolate chocolate?
Yes. I know it's not, but yes.
It's sold to me as chocolate, so
Yeah.
yes. I don't
I would
care.
say I can. It's
Because what else are you?
technically-
What are you gonna call it? You
Yeah.
want to
In
call
North
it white?
America, like both Canada and the States, it has to have a certain amount of cacao butter to be considered
The
to be
states,
called white chocolate.
the states have a lower standard for chocolate. Their chocolate sort of sucks compared to a lot of other.
Yeah, but the
chocolates.
States has a standard for white chocolate, whereas Europe actually does not.
because they don't consider it to be chocolate.
chocolate.
Yeah,
that's why.
So
Anyway, sorry.
I would say I consider it chocolate on the same technicality.
Yeah, it's marketed and sold to me as chocolate.
They tell me
I'm
it's
not-
chocolate. It tastes
I'm
like
not
chocolate.
gonna. I'm
Oh,
not going
oh,
out of my way
oh,
to be
oh.
like it's cacao solids or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
left out or
So
whatever.
that's
Well,
the purest argument.
actually-
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be one of those
actually-
guys.
well, actually, the purist's argument is that if you do not have ground cacao beans in it, it is not chocolate. And while white chocolate does come from a chocolate bean, because it's basically just like cocoa butter,
Yeah.
and in solid
And
form,
that shit good.
and it tastes kind of like chocolate, and yeah.
Rub
So
it on yourself.
that's a purist thing. What other ones? Number 2,
Wait. What do you consider?
Oh, what do I consider? Personally, I don't care for white chocolate, but it falls under the chocolate umbrella of confection. Of
I
like
So here's the
appreciate
thing.
white
confectionaries.
chocolate because people who are allergic to chocolate can often have white chocolate.
Wait,
I
hold
didn't
on.
know
There
that.
are people who are allergic to cacao?
Yes.
Well, there
Ooh.
can
It's
be
very
anyone
common.
who be allergic to anything. But here's another thing.
I mean, lactose
I'm okay with
intolerance.
white chocolate because I like white chocolate. Don't give me just a chunk of that.
Okay.
Give me cookies and cream.
Hell yeah!
Yes.
So
Hell
by
yeah.
like
Hell
just
yeah.
honestly
Hell yes.
by that definition, yes.
We had
Mhm.
some
Give me
cookies
that.
and cream
That shit-
maniacs the other day. They were
Oh,
so
they're
good.
so
I had
good. I
a
love
cookies and cream hot chocolate earlier today.
Oh, that sounds
They
good.
sell that stuff at Costco. I should go pick
So,
up a
yes.
really big
So what's
box.
option
So
number
like,
2?
you're not wrong.
No.
Nobody's
And
wrong.
I
but
don't
it's like,
think anyone has a wrong opinion on this, but I have noticed that these are very divisive arguments among chocolate snobs.
if it good, it good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I fully think that people are allowed to like what they like. You know,
Yeah.
with the subtext that as long
We
as it
don't
doesn't
kink
harm
shame.
anyone.
We don't chocolate shame.
Right.
Yes.
Sure.
So what's number 2? What's
Okay,
number
so
2 divisive chocolate
Number
argument?
2, dark chocolate grades. So people will often
Oh, like
tell you
50, 70, 90.
people will often tell you that they have a favorite or what is considered the best tasting level of cacao percentage in a chocolate. I think most milk chocolates fall in the 60% and a little bit
Yeah.
lower, and then you've got darker ones at 70, 80, sometimes even 90.
Yeah. So I don't dislike dark chocolate,
Mhm.
but I find that I can taste the difference between like the different higher percentages.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You should be
I
able to. It's mostly just bitterness.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do find that depending on my mood, I want something more bitter, like a 90%.
Yep.
Or I want something sweeter or even a milk chocolate.
Mhm.
So I like them all. It's
Yeah.
chocolate.
Angela's
It
also
tastes
not
good.
pretentious.
I
think.
prefer milk chocolate.
Mhm.
I actually do. I prefer milk chocolate over dark chocolate. I still like dark chocolate, but whenever someone says that, oh, milk chocolate isn't real chocolate, you gotta have the dark chocolate.
you would
And
Here
you know
we
what?
go. Here
I
we
go full GIF versus GIF on them, and I'd be like,
Oh.
if you're not gnawing on fucking unsweetened baker's chocolate, you're not a real human. Get
no,
on my
that's
level.
not what you should do. You should just get like a cookies and cream bar, like white chocolate, like piss them off. Just stare them in the eye.
Give
assert
it a Death Note
eat
bite.
it, and just assert
Take your
dominance.
no.
Yeah. I would
Yes.
for dark chocolate for me because I'm sort of a foodie in the sense that like I care about food, but I'm like you get specific about just what you like. It doesn't have to be objective. When it comes to dark chocolate, it's about the texture of it more so than the actual flavor. If I have it in a truffle, I'm really happy. If I have it as a bar, I'm unhappy.
That's fair.
So you're more about the texture and the delivery form of what your chocolate
Well,
tastes.
sort of, yeah, because it just has to kind of go together somehow. Like
Mhm.
I don't really. It's expectations, sort of how
For
how it
really
should
dark
sit.
chocolate, like 90%, I have to be in the right mood for it.
I agree.
70% I can enjoy anytime.
Yep.
And like milk chocolate is just give me a bowl full of milk chocolate and a spoon.
Okay, but here's the other thing. Angelo, are you lactose intolerant?
Hell no.
So you
I
are
will
not
tolerate every bit of lactose and shit. I am extremely tolerant of lactose.
of lactose. I see. So
Cows. Some cows are my best friends.
I mean, in interspecies reviewers, the cowgirls are the best ones.
and we have a new kink, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. That is a new kink right there. You've witnessed the birth of a new kink. So personally, I am a little lactose intolerant, so I'm already predisposed against milk chocolate, not because I don't like the way it tastes,
But it hurts your tum.
but it hurts my tum tum. So
That's fair.
I like to go towards 70%. I have had some exceptionally creamy 70% chocolates.
Yeah, some of them are
And-
really good.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
really, really like them. But I agree with Jay. I really, really like it when someone gives me chocolate in truffle form as opposed to just giving me like a slab of dark chocolate.
What were those
Oh.
chocolates that your mom brought us for Christmas?
She brought us Lindt chocolate.
Yeah, those ones. The dark chocolate from that was really good.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was good.
so Lindt 70 or 80%, you can find this in like any grocery store. Like the Lindt Excellent slabs that you can get.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go
They're
on
like
sale
a-
and they're great.
for not to
Yum.
like they're weird. It's weird to say, but they're like a fairly available,
They're accessible.
good chocolate.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
an accessible,
Yeah.
like fairly good
yeah.
chocolate. So
Like if you want good chocolate, you can get Lindt.
yeah.
And it's not that expensive either.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
it's not.
don't eat Lindt back to back with an exceptionally good chocolate, because
'Cause
if
it
you
will
do, it
hurt
will
you.
ruin you. I've been to a couple of different like chocolatiers in Calgary.
Well, we have Bernard Calabo.
We have Bernard Calabo, but you know, we also
Ooh.
have chocolate, and chocolate
Chocolat.
does not bill themselves as a chocolatier. They bill themselves as a chocolate maker, because they import all the beans, they grind it here, they make the actual physical
Mhm,
chocolate
mhm.
here.
That's cool.
Whereas Bernard Calabo, they're a larger franchise, so what they do is they make the chocolate somewhere, but they
and it
ship
gets
them out in
shipped
blocks
to the retail stores.
yeah, where they melt them down and they reshape them into cute little bunnies or something. So, I've been to chocolate. I've been to some of their open nights. They show you how they make their chocolate in their factories, which is really cool. And if it's your thing, they're apparently also expanding into the cannabis snacks market.
Ooh.
And all the stuff that's, you know, locally made, it's going to be, I think it's available at Sobeys and Safeway now.
Sure.
Neat.
Anyway.
Time to get Jay fucked up again.
Oh, no.
No, I never got fucked up.
Yeah.
You got fucked up.
I never got fucked up.
I
Where
know
you
what you're talking about. You're fucked up. No. Okay. So, having been to their factory and done their factory tour, they literally sat us down and they gave us 3 different kinds of 70 and 80% and a milk chocolate of theirs as well. And then they fed us Lindt back to back with it. And it tasted waxy and kind of plasticky, even though I know I like Lindt. Like I like their orange one and their straight dark, and like
I'm
sometimes
still
their
gonna
is
have
really
a cookies
good.
and cream bar.
I'm still gonna enjoy their you know chocolates every now and again, but just having that stark comparison was a bit of an eye opener.
I have 2 things to add to that.
Okay.
One,
Mhm.
I'm still gonna stand by the cookies and cream thing because pretentious
By all
chocolate.
means.
Because no, I would love to have a high quality one, but pretentious chocolate makers won't make that. That's sort of the thing. I'm getting it where I can get it.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 2, I've also been similar to you. I have been to Ghirardelli down in San Francisco,
Yes.
and that's Ghirardelli. For if you don't know, is like it's an older, but very respected like chocolate maker,
Mhm.
based out of San Fran. There's actually they're close to like Pier 52 or whatever it's called. Anyway, super cool, really great like tasting stuff. But at this, like, you know, they put all the crappy candy stuff by the grocery checkout for a reason.
Yeah, they
And
do.
sometimes you're just gonna get it, and it's totally fine.
When was the
Yeah.
last time you had those little chocolate Easter eggs that were wrapped in
I
just
hate
like
those.
cheap foil, and
I-
like you eat them and they just
I actually
kind of
really
don't
don't like those.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, I love those too.
I will if I get some, I will give them to you because I really can't take. I can't take
don't
how
either.
sweet they are.
I'm gonna be real with you. They don't taste like chocolate. to
They
me.
don't.
It's
They
just
are-
sugar.
I can only eat them.
So-
I can only eat them with milk because the milk
Ugh.
sort of actually.
Fixes it for
really,
you.
I
It-
actually
it's
really
sort of-
like the texture of them.
I hate the texture as well.
So
I love the texture,
yeah,
too.
I'm gonna have to
Like,
like
they are the
know.
most basic bitch Easter candy, and I love
No,
them.
they're the most
great.
basic bitch candy.
It's like
period.
all Easter candy, which to me is Easter candy doesn't really taste like things or anything. It's just a vehicle for sugar.
It's a confectionery. It's not actually sugar. It's not actually chocolate to me.
Yeah, it's a vehicle for sugar into your mouth.
Yeah, I gotta go with that one. Number 3, people from Europe often come to North America and they will say that our chocolate tastes rancid. And the reason why
Ah.
is because apparently a lot of places in North America, they don't use actual cream in their chocolate. They use milk solids.
Okay,
And
yes,
that has
yeah.
a tendency to go rancid faster.
Part of that might
Ah.
also be because there's the North American Hershey's company. There's
Yes.
the European Hershey's company, which do not share recipes.
Nestle,
or
too.
Nestle as well.
Nestle as well.
Yeah. But I would also say that
Mm.
it
So,
could
like-
it could also just be due to not just, but another addition to it is the fact that I don't know if you've ever been to a different country and had milk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it does taste different.
When
Dude,
when we
milk
went to
animal
Japan,
across Canada doesn't taste the same.
That's true, too.
Alberta milk does not taste as good as Ontario milk.
Animals,
Fight.
different species of cow.
have a different
plus-
tasting Yeah.
different regions feeding on different
Yep,
species
different
of
Different
grasses
locals.
or whatever.
different
Yep,
things.
totally.
That literally changes the taste of milk, and therefore that changes the import of what you're gonna get.
Yep.
Yeah, so the flavor is going to be different. That's true.
Totally. So when we went to Japan, shokupan is a very popular, just like straight creamy white bread that they make and sell in Japan.
Yeah.
It is their version of white bread, and it's exceptionally creamy. And the reason why is because their dairy is just really different. It tastes different. All of their milky candies, their milkshakes, their ice cream, anything locally made
Right.
tastes different. And that's exactly to your point,
Ah.
Jay, about dairy being different. And when you mix it into chocolate, it just makes the chocolate
It just
taste
behaves a different
different
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a number 4?
Hold on. There's the age-old debate between dark and milk always, but I don't think I have an opinion
That's a
on that.
preference. It just
Uh,
comes to
I
being
think
a
it's just a
preference.
preference.
What you like.
And honestly, sometimes you just need a chocolate fix, so you get a Mars bar,
Yep.
or you
So-
get crappy, or you walk by,
Yeah.
you walk
Have you
you
guys
walk
ever
into.
had a deep fried Mars bar or deep fried chocolate bar?
No.
I can't do those. I find that, like,
No.
for me,
I think they become cakey, sort of.
yeah, it
I
becomes
ate one
cakey.
once back in high
Yeah.
school, and it was absolutely delicious. And I felt like I was having heart pains within 15 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I
that
don't
sounds
know.
about right.
Like, I like deep fried food, but I find that, like, some foods just do not do well. Like, you can deep fry them,
Yeah.
but maybe you shouldn't. So for me, I don't like funnel cakes. I find that funnel cakes are too cakey.
Too greasy.
They're too greasy. They're too much. But like a tempura fried vegetable, a deep fried
Ooh.
vegetable.
Tempura
fried
is very
Okay.
different, though.
Tempura is very different, but like
Mhm.
a deep fried vegetable,
Yes.
or like deep fried chicken.
But I have I have a counter to that.
Uh-huh.
I've never had or I might have had a funnel cake. I just don't remember them. But a deep fried vegetable, that I can't really take anymore. I could eat it when I was younger, but not any longer. Blooming onions.
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
can't.
That has
it's-
recently
they're-
resurfaced as
they're
a fancy
too
thing.
much.
I think
They're
that
too
one
much.
is just too much because like I love onion rings, but a blooming onion is just
It's
a
an
lot.
entire onion.
It's a lot, but it's also you have to think about sort of because of the creation process where like they dip,
They dip
and then
it
they
in,
fry,
fry.
and then they gotta
dip
turn it back up.
again. Yeah.
I think it's just there's also a lot of residual grease.
Yeah,
as
it
well.
just doesn't.
It
It's
doesn't
one of the-
exactly drain.
Yeah, it's one of the heaviest,
Yeah,
and I think it's just
I
like
have the
it's-
same problem.
Just give me onion rings.
Yeah, I'd
A&W
rather just
has
an
good onion
ring.
rings.
Yeah, I love A&W
A&W
onion
onion
rings.
rings for
Why
fast
do you
food
think-
onion rings are one of the best.
We got to end this pretty quick, unfortunately. But quick aside, why do you think McDonald's doesn't make an onion ring?
I don't know.
They never
Is it not an
have.
American thing? I don't know.
No, the thing about onion rings is that it's not something you can easily ship out to a bunch of different stores.
I feel like McDonald's logistics is incredible in that. So anytime they
You
want,
can't
so
make a consistent onion ring.
No,
I think
that's-
that's the issue.
maybe a little bit, but when it comes to the logistics for McDonald's, they actually have to consider one of the weirdest things they have to consider from that kind of blows your mind on a scale idea. Anytime they want to come up with, they have like research facilities for their food, right? Like
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
how
yeah.
not just what the recipe is, but also how to store it and where to source it.
Yeah.
And anytime they are like, I want to make blueberry tarts. They don't do blueberry tarts because if they started making blueberry tarts, nobody else would have blueberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's literally how big they are.
The sheer scale of the amount
their
that they would
operation,
have
period.
to give, not just
Yeah.
like in a specific, but like literally
But,
on almost every continent.
It's a really cool sort of big scale thing that you would never really realize, but
keep
it's actually a thing.
for example, chicken McNuggets. There's exactly 4 shapes.
Yeah.
Because 3 would be boring, but 5 would be too much. Onion rings, too many goddamn shapes.
Yeah.
Burger King tried to make consistent onion rings. You know what they did
Burger
at one
King's
point?
isn't good anymore.
It was pureed onions,
Sad.
Ew.
squeezed out into a ring, and then battered and deep
Ew.
fried.
Oh wow!
But
So they tried to do it like the nugget way,
I
but
think
like
I just
by
threw up in my
all-
mouth.
yeah.
by
Ew.
all account, it was an onion ring. And I had them. They tasted fine. But
The
when I want
consistency
an
was
onion
off.
ring, I want to bite into it.
And
I
see a
want
piece
some
of
the
onion.
breading
Okay.
to come off. I want some of the onion to come there. And that's what I want, and that's what A&W gives me.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Uh,
McDonald's could live up to that expectation.
There was something else I wanted to bring up, but you know what? There's no time, and I can't remember it anyways. So let's end this one. But anyway, chocolate, have some. Even
Onion
if you
rings
were
have some.
onion rings, have some.
Chocolate onion rings don't have
Watch
some.
watch
One last
interspecies
question.
reviews if
Do
you want
any
to.
of you know someone who just doesn't like chocolate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, no, lots of people.
But like my general philosophy about any food that I like that someone else doesn't like, it's fine. There's more food for me.
more for me.
And then there's the food that I don't like. There's more for them.
Perfect.
And there's more Otafest weekend passes available on the website for 55.
It's true, and
Canadian
maybe you should be there.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
we'll be
Will
there.
you?
Dun dun dun.
Ta-da-na-na-na-na-na.
Thanks for
Angela,
joining
signing
us.
out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.